Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, welcome to the show where we don't sing it, we bring it. Help us out and click subscribe to show your support. While you're at it, make sure you click the bell to enable notifications if you're using YouTube, so they let you know every time a new episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast goes up. And make sure to follow us on our Discord community. Make sure you swing by www.tsj101sports.com. We are the official wrestling podcast of TSJ Sports. You got to check out TSJ Sports for all your news, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, everything there is to know in the world of sports. Check out the sports junkies at www.tsj101sports.com. Hey guys, are you sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling video game? Stop immediately. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available exclusively through Facebook. Create your wrestler, sign contracts, get involved in storylines, headline pay-per-views. You can even build your own corporation, all included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available now to all Facebook users, totally free. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family, you want your name in the shoutouts like Mike in Lansdale. How you doing, Mike? Happy holidays to you, buddy. Then make sure you sign up for our Patreon channel at patreon.com/Pro Wrestling Podcast. We have a loyalty rewards program. Any $15 a month contributor gets to co-host one episode of our live shows, and any of our $7.50 a month contributors, you get entered into a drawing to host an episode as well. If you have not already done so, if you're new to the Pro Wrestling Podcast, you've never checked us out before, pop on over to our homepage at frowrestling.com. It's a great place where you can check out all the topics coming to our next show. And more importantly, we got to support independent wrestling. Click on our indie events tab for all the match cards and lineups of all these independent promotions in areas hopefully near you, so you get that up close and personal feel of an indie show. Support indie wrestling by going to the frowrestling.com website and clicking that indie events tab today. And if you want to ask questions, you have comments, you have something you want us to talk about, maybe you're a little shy, don't want to tune into one of our live shows, that's okay. We got the Fro Wrestling Sound Off line at 267-642-1160, where you could call us and give us your questions, your comments, suggestions for a future episode, anything you want to talk about. Send us those questions. Make sure you tell us who you are so we give you credit for your questions and whatnot. And then if you are streaming with us during our live shows, make sure you enable the chat function on whatever program, streaming service, or whatever you're using, so you can get us questions live and in show time, so we can include you in the show. We love to include our fans in everything that we do. So, getting to the news of the week, I don't know about you guys, but certain things to me are bigger news than they are necessarily to other people. The word came out this week that Edge has signed a new WWE talent contract. Not one of these Legends deals, but a talent contract. And if that's true, and apparently it was like a multi-year deal. If that's true, that would imply at least that he is going to make an effort to try to become an in-ring performer once again. Now, he has vehemently denied this. He denied it again this week online. He saw the news come out. And I think in 2019 and heading into 2020, it's getting harder and harder to keep news a secret. So if he was going to return at the Royal Rumble, which is what is being speculated right now, is that he's headed to the Rumble, let's be honest. What's he going to do? Ruin the surprise? Come out and say, yep, that's right, I'm coming. The Royal Rumble, watch out. No, he's not going to do that. They already screwed up John Morrison coming back. They should never have told us about that. If they are negotiating with CM Punk, we're not going to know about it until his music hits. You know how you turn on YouTube and you can always see those videos of like WWE's greatest comebacks of all time. And if you haven't, check it out. It's kind of cool. CM Punk, Edge, people like that, John Morrison, this year actually have the shot to be like 1, 2, and 3 on that list if they're done properly, you know, and that really, WWE, if they want to make that happen and they want to have one of those aha moments that are just transcend wrestling as a whole, then this is a year where you've really got a chance to do that if those 3 people are coming back. Now, the more people you bring back, the less people you can advertise from each brand. Because right now, the working understanding about the Royal Rumble is it's going to be 10 Raw superstars, 10 SmackDown superstars, 10 NXT superstars, which I'm cool with. But I would say, if you're going to do that, since we all know that there's going to be surprises in the Rumble, or at least there's supposed to be. Last year was garbage, but usually they have surprise returns. If that's the case, have 10, 10, 10, make it a 40-man Rumble. I have 10 mystery entrants. They could be from any brand, or they could be from yesteryear. I don't care, but make it a 40-man Rumble every year and do it that way. Because that's exciting. That's what people want. They want the spontaneity back in wrestling. We don't get a lot of that anymore. With WCW went away, there's no like who's going to jump to which brand. And whenever somebody does sign somewhere, like the John Morrison thing, we find out about it months ahead of time and the surprise is ruined. So that would be a great way for them to introduce something that fans, I think, would really get behind. Something else they're talking about, there was a question posed to Stephanie McMahon this week about whether or not WWE is considering adding a secondary championship to the women's division. And I think sometimes people forget that there's literally like one female to like every 3 males in the WWE. The reason having multiple championships as a male performer works is because there are so many people who can hold those championships. When you have a very limited talent pool, and let's be honest, if you add up all the women, yes, you had the Evolution pay-per-view where you could fill a whole pay-per-view card with women, and you had the Royal Rumble every year where you could fill the whole show with women. I get that, but they're not on a week in and week out basis putting 40 women out there for you. And that's really kind of what you need to have a viable reason for another championship, is to have a large talent pool. Putting a women's intercontinental champion sounds like a great idea, or a women's United States champion sounds like a great idea, but if there's not enough women to differentiate the difference, remember in WWE on the main roster, typically the intercontinental and the United States championships are used as springboards to a world championship. But most of the women in the WWE women's division have either already been champion, or they're clearly never going to be. I don't think anybody is on board with Dana Brooke being a women's champion. I don't. She's too green even after all these years. So giving her a secondary championship to work for might sound great, but who else is in that division? And who else are you going to promote once you get that division started? So I don't know. I'm not sure that I'm a fan of it. Stephanie McMahon made it clear that it's not something you're talking about right now, but it may be something in the future based on how the division goes. And I think that's about as transparent and honest as she could possibly be. Talk a little bit about NXT and AEW's Dynamite and the ratings, because let's be honest, dude, this is the second week in a row that NXT is beating AEW, but they're not beating them by a little. They're beating them by like 100,000 people, like a 16% gain this week over AEW. And I see that trend is going to start to widen because let's be honest, like, every week on AEW, there's almost the same formula. Like, you get these, they're not repetitive like WWE is with their matches. Corey Graves was in the news this week complaining about how WWE is so repetitive in their matches. I agree. AEW's not doing that. They're changing things up week to week, but the moves in the matches, the feel of the matches is starting to feel a little bit watered down and very much, one show to another. I don't know that you could go back and say, hey, this was the December 18th-ish episode of AEW Dynamite. I think it's just another week that blends into all the other ones. And don't get me wrong, the product is awesome. I love the matches. I like the talent. I like the people they're getting exposure for. But I don't necessarily see them stepping up to really change the industry the way they kind of promoted themselves to be at the start of their promotion. I think coming out of this week's show, you could see like the seeds being planted for some other things that have promise, but it's almost like they rush all of these different programs to make sure that every week they're trying to knock it out of the park. Let's be honest. Chris-Jericho has now wrestled half the roster. At least it seems that way. And I'm okay with him wrestling everybody as champion, but can we slow it down a little bit? The champion should not have to be in the ring every single week. Back in the day, like, it was a special attraction to see Hulk Hogan in the ring. And usually you didn't see him in the ring on like a Saturday morning show. You saw him maybe at the Saturday night main events, or back before they had a million pay-per-views, at the quarterly pay-per-views. And if you wanted to see Hulk Hogan wrestle, you usually had to go to the house shows. I'm not saying to go to that extreme, but like literally every single week. And I love that they want to build up Jungle Boy because I think his character is interesting. But let's be honest. I thought this week he should have gotten obliterated by Chris Jericho. Jericho is making everybody look good. Everybody. And that's a testament to Chris Jericho. But it kind of waters down the product a bit. And I'm hoping that fans don't have a problem with that. Because I think AEW's got so much promise and potential. But I fear that maybe the way they're booking things might not necessarily be the best to build a huge audience that can take the next step. You know, I know Ryback was in the news saying how if he was a betting man and investing in one or the other company, WWE or AEW, he'd take AEW for the long haul. I would like to say that, but right now, I don't know. I've said it since the start of their program, and one of the biggest challenges they were going to face was going to be, you know, could they keep the momentum going over a sustained long period of time? Long-term booking is hard. You know, and WWE's not even long-term booking. Vince changes anything he wants on the fly, week to week, day to day, hour by hour. Long-term booking is hard. If you make a storyline that's supposed to last 5 months, then you got to try to make it last 5 months. Stop rushing stuff. And both companies right now, I feel like, are rushing a lot of things. Some other news for the week. John Cena wants a substantial role at WrestleMania 36. I'm okay with that. For all the John Cena haters out there, like, look, the guy was crammed down your throat for a long time because there really wasn't anybody else to carry the ball. Now, he hasn't been on a pay-per-view all year. So can we get off the hating John Cena bandwagon? The guy's a huge coveted actor now in Hollywood, and he still wants to come back and contribute. The Rock, he's obviously the most successful actor in Hollywood, but he still wants to contribute from time to time. We got to start accepting these people for who they are. John Cena, I love how he used to make fun of The Rock for doing the same thing he's doing now, and I guess now he's, you know, feels bad about some of the comments he's made in the past about The Rock, but he has no reason to have to come back. He does it for the love of the business, and that's what fans should want, is wrestlers who are passionate about this business. And instead, we spend more time giving John Cena a hard time than giving him a fair break. I hope he comes back at 36 and does something incredibly awesome. I really do. I don't know who you'd put him against, unless you were going to put him against, you know, CM Punk or something, but I don't want to see that match again. That's been done to death, but we'll have to wait and see. WWE interested in former Impact Wrestling star Killer Kross, who was released earlier this week. Now, it has been announced that Killer Kross is going to be appearing for MLW in January, and I'm fine with that. I don't know if he signed a contract with them or if this is a one-off and he's still open to being a free agent. I know WWE would make a substantial offer to him. It's somebody who is on their wish list. They do have Scarlett Bordeaux, his young lady friend, on their roster now, so that would obviously be a factor in whether or not he wanted to make the jump to WWE. But we'll have to wait and see. But I think no matter who gets him, he's a good acquisition for your company. I think he's a good soldier. He'll go out there and do some good work and try to hone his craft. I think he's really passionate about what he does. And I think Impact Wrestling really dropped the ball with Killer Kross. In contract news of the week, all 3 members of the New Day have signed new 5-year contracts. Kudos to them. Kofi Kingston making it clear this might be the last contract he signs. He had an interview where he was literally talking about how he can't run, 10, 20 yards with his kids because of the way his body feels right now, that he can turn it on when he gets in the ring. But at 5 more years, his kids will be getting a little older. He's away so often, doesn't get to see the family and the kids as much as he'd like to. And you got to respect that. He's been on the road this January. It'll be 12 years he's been on television. And 5 more after that, that's a long, long time. And it may be time after 5 years from now for him to hang up the boots and maybe go do something else, be a producer or something, or, a part-time performer or something, where he can get more family time. But I'm glad that the 3 of them got new contracts. And with all 3 of them signing them, it gives you the impression that they may be able to do something that typically doesn't happen in wrestling. Perhaps they keep the group together all the way through that contract, which is what I hope they do. That never happens. Everybody's just been waiting for years for Big E to turn bad or Xavier Woods to lead a rebellion against the other 2 or whatever. I don't need to see that. I like the New Day. I like them just the way they are. And they haven't gotten old, no matter how long they've been doing what they're doing. So, by all means, keep them together. I think it's a great idea. Dana Brooke also signing a new 5-year contract extension. Look, she's one of the talents that I think is underappreciated to a degree, but she's so green. She's so inexperienced, and they don't give her a lot of television time. I hope maybe this new contract is evidence that they're going to try to help her and promote her in a better way, but we'll have to wait and see. And contracts expiring. Ric Flair's contract with WWE is set to expire at the end of this year. And if Ric Flair's contract expires at the end of the year, he is good friends with Tony Khan. There's conversation, and now that Ric Flair has copywritten so much of his taglines and merchandise and everything else, he has his own merchandise store and everything, that perhaps he would make a decision to go to AEW if they'll use him in a more substantial way. He's a huge advocate for people securing their intellectual property. And he's a guy who is set up pretty well once he leaves WWE if he chooses to do so. So I think that would probably be a good move for Ric Flair because he's done everything you could possibly ask him to do in WWE. But I don't really know what AEW could do with him. They've already got Tully Blanchard over there. Like, what are you going to do with Ric Flair then? But I'm sure if they wanted to make a position for him, I'm sure they would find something for him to do of substance. I just don't want it to turn into a thing where AEW grabs every contract that expires. I know Cody this week was talking about how he thinks Luke Harper would be an incredible addition to the AEW roster, which I agree with. But every time WWE releases somebody, I don't want them just to run to AEW. That's not cool either, because then AEW becomes WWE light. I like what AEW is doing with building new characters, people that people don't know. New wrestlers who getting exposure who've never had it before. I think that's what they need to do. Colt Cabana in the news with AEW this week. Apparently he was in the AEW dark matches doing some commentary, but he was also doing some producing for them, kind of as a trial run to see if that's something that they would like to bring him in to do. His contract with Ring of Honor is up. He finished up with them at Final Battle, as did a couple other talents. Shane Taylor's done with the company, but he's possibly available now. He finished up with the NWA. He did the Into the Fire pay-per-view, lost the national championship to Aaron Stevens. So he is freed up, and it sounds like that might be his next step, is going to AEW. And if he does, I just hope they pay him what he's worth, because I think Colt Cabana is so severely underappreciated in this industry. He is an incredible mind, and he's a great worker, and he's a good soldier, and he does the things necessary to really get people over, and he's willing to adapt his character to, any style that you want to put him in the ring with. And I think that's something that's kind of a lost art form. A lot of wrestlers aren't willing to do that. So kudos to Colt Cabana if he goes to AEW. The news came out this week that Fox's New Year's Eve special is going to feature Roman Reigns. He's going to be wrestling somebody on the show. Steve Harvey will be there. I guess they're making this like this big media blitz frenzy thing. I couldn't care less. I think it's something where Fox is like, we're going to get some return on our investment in WWE, and I guess that's cool. I just wish we didn't hear about Roman Reigns being the wrestler. If you want to say him, then tell us who his opponent's going to be and make it something big. Please don't give us Baron Corbin. We've seen Baron Corbin and Roman Reigns too many times. I never need to see that match again, at least not for the next 5 years. Put Roman Reigns in there with somebody of substance, somebody that matters, like Keith Lee. Keith Lee doesn't have the brand name recognition for Fox? Fine. Put him in there with The Fiend. Or put him in there with somebody that matters. Got to give him somebody of substance. I don't know who that would be, because I don't think, obviously, like I just said, Keith Lee, I don't think Fox is going to sign off on that because nobody knows who that is. I don't think they're going to sign off on The Fiend because they want to save that for WrestleMania. So who are you going to put him in there with to make it matter? I don't want to see some 5-minute stupid botch match. And that's the rumor, is it might just be some kind of glorified squash match against some Fox mascot. And that would be such a waste of an opportunity. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. Jinder Mahal is teasing that he's almost ready to make a return to the ring. And I honestly feel like people hate Jinder Mahal, and I don't understand it. Let's be honest. The guy looks like $1,000,000. He actually can wrestle. He's a pretty talented wrestler. You may not like his message and you may not like his shtick, but at the end of the day, he can wrestle. And he did everything he could to transform his body into a fantastic specimen for wrestling. I think the guy deserves another shot to be not necessarily a world champion, but to be a player of some kind in the industry. And I think he's gotten buried for so long after having that long championship run, which makes no sense to me. You win the WWE Championship, no one can defeat you for like 7 months, and then when you finally lose, now you can't win anything. That doesn't make even a little bit of sense. Makes WWE look stupid. Hopefully when he returns, he may be another Royal Rumble return. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. The Revival in the news this week. Apparently their tag team is being set up to be turned into a comedy gimmick. I guess this is WWE's way of burying them before their contracts run out, because they haven't been able to get them to lock down new deals. I think it's ridiculous. First off, the Revival is nuts. If they're waiting out their contracts because they just want to go have great matches with the Young Bucks, I think people forget that this is still a business. And they're on TV every single week. What do they have to complain about? Oh, we keep doing these gimmick matches? Yeah, welcome to 2020. Okay? That's what people want to see. They want to see this kind of tag team wrestling. It's not 1985. If Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson were the tag team champions right now, people would be treating them the same way they're treating the Revival. Because that style of wrestling is gone. It's boring and outdated. We do love to see great wrestling, but it has to be thrown in with high-paced stuff nowadays because people have a short attention span. Sorry, but that's the truth. So, yes, I love the Revival. I think they're one of the best tag teams in the world right now. But if you're going to complain and you're not going to re-sign, then they're going to bury you, and it's going to be your own fault. And people are mad at WWE for even thinking about taking this great tag team and turning them into a joke. Why should they promote them just so the other company can make money off them? I'd bury them too. That's the business. That's what you do. You work out your contract, they're going to bury your character before you leave, peace out right into the sunset, and then go try to reestablish yourself over in AEW. Because let's be honest, Jake Hager, the only reason he's a draw is because of his Bellator experience. It's not because he was a superstar in WWE, because he was a nobody at the end of his run in WWE. You know, let's be honest. These people who are leaving, and they're going to AEW, and they're going to breathe new life into their career. They got to build that up because they were a joke at the end of their WWE tenures. Same thing with their Revival. Apparently, literally are going to be a joke. So, I don't know. It's weird. I don't like the whole situation, the way people are trying to get out all the time, and they don't like the way they're booked, so they're going to stomp their feet and get angry. I'm tired of it. Do your job. Speaking of somebody who has to make a bigger impact, Cain Velasquez signed that big deal with WWE. Well, apparently he's set to return at the Royal Rumble. He should be a part of the match, which, if you think about it, that's another person that takes one of the limited spots for Raw to go to the pay-per-view, and you want to see the best of your best of your best. I think all of us could probably name 10 superstars on Raw that we'd rather see before Cain Velasquez. So that's why I'm saying earlier about having 10, 10, 10, and then having an extra 10 who are like the mystery guys. Because if you don't count Cain Velasquez as one of the Raw superstars, think about it. Randy Orton, AJ Styles, Seth Rollins will probably be involved in a championship match, but if not, Seth Rollins, you still got the AOP that are going to have to be in there with Seth Rollins. That's 5 people, and I barely got started. Rey Mysterio, you got Ricochet, you've got Drew McIntyre, you've got Humberto Carrillo is for whatever reason is involved in everything anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I'm at 9 and I'm barely really breaking a sweat thinking about who's on the roster. You know, our Truth will have to be out there because he'll get eliminated and then win the 24/7 title or lose the 24/7 title a bunch of times. You know, we need to have more than 10, but we don't want to flood the market with one brand. So do 40. Do 10 from each brand and do 10 strange ones. And that's a way you could get certain people into the program without taking away spots from the legit talent that you want to see in the Rumble. That's just my opinion. And the last tidbit for today, Kacy Catanzaro, former competitor on American Ninja Warrior who went to WWE. She appeared at the Women's Royal Rumble. We haven't seen her since I think it's July 19th or something like that. She's been out. Rumor was she was leaving WWE or had asked for a release or something like that. She's with Ricochet. She was spotted at the WWE Performance Center this week. And apparently she is still under contract with WWE and may be thinking about making her return. And I hope so, because I think she really was getting to the point where she could have really been something. I thought she looked great at the Royal Rumble. And I think she has so much athleticism. She really could be something special for WWE going forward. So hopefully they figure out a way to make that happen and give her a substantial opportunity to come back and contribute to the NXT brand, because she would be a great addition to that women's division, which is something they always need. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode where we run down the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks, as always, goes out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com. They produce any music and sound effects we use in our shows. Today's podcast is sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bringing a new friend to family game night is easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this game from Beazle Games by going to frowrestling.com and clicking on the icon in the middle of the screen. And to alleyrepair.com. Contact Alley Repair today for servicing of all your classic skee-ball, pinball, and arcade game needs. If you're looking for your next career move and you're considering college, university life, or you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our sister website at frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro. I want to thank you so much for taking a few moments with us today. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, make sure you hit us up on that Fro Wrestling Sound Off line, 267-642-1160. Make sure you check out TSJ101sports.com for their latest articles on the world of pro wrestling. And until next time, take care, everybody, and have a great night.